So are you happy if we get started straight away, Kasey?
Yeah, sure. I think let's dive in and offer guidance and support to some of these, questions that a lot have got. Some are going to be the same. We've gotten obviously multiple questions of the same. So yeah, let's dive in and see how we can really continue to help support our wonderful industry.
Yeah. All right. Can I kick off with one of the questions that I've been getting the most?
Sure, absolutely.
And that is, how do we handle rent reductions or requests for rent reductions right now? I know that you did a little bit of role playing on this earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, so I've been getting a lot of that, same question as well. And I think some of the role play that we did was just coming up with some of those different styles of solutions, because each individual case is going to be very different in this scenario. So I think, one of the key elements is, if we can digress slightly to help answer this question, is that we need to remain as educated as we can ourselves. Now, Ellen and I have been very honest in the fact that we might not have all of the answers for you guys today. We are hearing the information via the media, through Facebook and all of these platforms exactly the same way as you. I suppose with our experience, though, we can help interpret that to wean out the noise and give you the best clarity on the information. So, what I did was say, well, as a part of this strategy, we've got to be talking to the owners up front first to say, what if we get these requests? So, landlord, how are you financially positioned? That's a tough conversation to ask or allow them to talk openly with you. But it's more of, have you spoken to your bank? Have you talked about the options you have as a landlord? Because we would be better to offer a reduction to a tenant opposed to you having a vacant property right now. Secondly, then, in obviously answering that question to the tenant, and you raise this as well, Ellen, it's really important we get some kind of confirmation that that particular person has in fact lost their job. The business has had to close down, all of those elements. I went through similar things for myself yesterday, obviously, to see with my mortgages what I could do for myself, right, in this time. And, yes, you're on hold for a long time to get all these questions answered. But you've got to, the questions they asked me was, the evidence of income, evidence of what I do in business, all of those things, to determine and say, well, this is how long we can defer your mortgage for. Or no, we're going to do this. So first step is talk to your landlords about all the options that they have, so that they're open to coming or they're open to addressing the conversation of, tenant now is looking for a reduction, or tenant's lost their job. What's the best solution here? Remembering, you're the solution provider. You need to guide your client with the recommendations, suggestions, send them the links, do videos like this, opposed to just saying it's your choice.
Yes.
They want your help right now, right? So that's what we've got to do.
Yeah. One of the things I feel is really important is making sure that obviously we're handling these things with as much compassion as we can. And that's challenging, because while you're trying to be compassionate to your tenants and your landlords, you're probably also scared yourself. And it's really hard to be compassionate, but doing what you can to be compassionate, but then also following a few steps, like if they've lost their job, we need to see a separation certificate from the employer, which they will provide, because they need that to go to Centrelink. The other thing is looking at the income they were receiving before compared to the support they're going to receive from Centrelink, so that we've got an idea of what sort of an adjustment needs to be made. If they were in a part-time position in hospitality earning $650 a week, and now they're going to be earning or receiving $550 a week from Centrelink, their position is going to be quite different than someone who was earning $1,500 a week and is now down to $550 a week. So I think it's just useful to collect as much information as we can to be clear on where the tenant is at. And of course, if you've got tenants who have called proactively saying, you know, I want to inquire about a rent reduction, but they've not yet been financially impacted, I would thank them for their proactivity and ask them to keep you posted, because if nothing changes for them, nothing needs to change for them.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that.
They're still scared, so thanking them for their proactivity, which you probably don't have time to do right now, but they're really scared as well. So
yeah, I think it's knowing that right question to ask in that right manner, and it's exactly that. Thank you for the call. We really do want to help you throughout this stage. There are a couple of things that we're going to need from you to verify the information. Make sure that the message coming from all of your team is the same. So every morning have a planning and strategy meeting around this, because things are going to continue to change every day, as we have seen. So every morning have this strategy meeting. This was yesterday, this is now today, and this is how we handle these phone calls. We need this information from you, but could I just ask, what is it that you're comfortable with in paying? You know, yes, you're now going to have to apply for this, and we appreciate that they're saying no waiting periods, etc., but there's still going to be a level, right?
It's going to take time.
There's still going to be a little bit. And we've got to remember that some of our clientele may be week to week in regards to their income. They may not have some stability behind them. So assessing everyone individually is really important, and not just caging, as you said, someone with $1,500 a week prior has now gone down to $500 a week. That additional pressure for them is going to be far greater to someone who was already on some, $650 a week to $500 a week is not as much of a drastic reduction. So it's case by case, guys, really being honest in your approach with them, asking them to be as transparent as possible with you also.
Yeah. So can we talk a little bit about showing properties? I know that you've been speaking with Curtis from REA today. Can you talk a bit about what our options are for showing properties digitally?
Yeah, look, I think what has happened now is it's really forced our hand to make these changes. And, you know, there's things that have always been in our industry. So they've always had options for digital or virtual tour options, digital walkthrough options as a part of REA in your subscription and in loading your properties online. It's always been there. There's just been an element in our industry that we've never done it.
Yeah.
Because we've never felt that is a priority to do so. We've sat on our hands of, no, people must come in and see the properties. Now, yes, I'm still of the opinion that there's a sensible approach to that, right? Because, you know, there's an element of qualifying that particular person to ensure they're going to be right and suitable for the home. But we now need to start to really think outside of the box and be able to cater for every individual. We're in a position where people are having to self-isolate. So they can't attend these inspections. And you can't just say, sorry, you have to book a private viewing. Like we can't have that mentality. So we need to have a look at all of the providers and suppliers that we have in our industry and really start to now embrace the technology. You've got Inspect Real Estate who have just launched their video walkthrough option for you as well. So any of our listeners today, go on, have a look at what they've got available to help you if you're using their product. If you're not using their product, book a demo with them. Ask them how it's going to help and benefit you right now. But more importantly, this is going to be the norm, guys. We're now branding our businesses for what it's going to be like next year. We're not just doing it for today. Look at Virtual Tours Creator. Speak to boxbrownie.com about the options they've got, floor plans, 3D walkthroughs, you know, all of those different things, editing of your photos, so that we're still making sure our marketing is looking top notch, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but there is so much opportunity now for you, and these devices, you know, are pretty cool. So you're going to have vacant properties. Get out there now. Don't be fearful of video. We talk about this a lot in my toolbox, don't we, Ellen?
Yeah.
About we all think we've got to have this pretty face and all of that. Right now, guys, they're not wondering if you've got makeup on. They just want to see these homes. So go to the property, open that front door and say, hi, this is who I am. Let's have a little walk through, turn your camera around and navigate through the property with them. Do a little bit of editing, iMovie. Ellen, you can probably share some apps that could really help them with some of those tools to keep reducing expenses. And that's what you've got to do. You put it up as the link. Curtis has sent me some links, which, Ellen, if you don't mind, we can share to everyone about where to go and the options that are being launched today for REA to make sure that your listings are getting those videos up straight away.
And I think, I know I'm hearing a lot of conversation around, what if we don't have 360 cameras? What if we don't have the equipment yet? And it's just like, just use what you've got.
Absolutely.
If all you have is a phone, then that is enough. Use what you have, because something is always better than nothing.
Oh, absolutely. It's the fact that we've got that personal touch still by using our phone. And yes, okay, it might not be 100% clear, but we're still providing an option. And what we're doing is showcasing to our landlords that we are still open very much for business. And I think that's the message we need to keep pushing out, is that as an industry, we are going to come together, bring all of these different ideas, use the technology that's out there to keep providing a high level of service.
Yes. And can I suggest that if you don't already have a tape measure or a measuring device, that you get one, because this is going to be the times that people say, oh, how big is that fridge space? They need to know that sort of stuff, because they may not get to actually come to the property. So if you can have it with you, and maybe even when you go to the house for the first time, do a quick measure of the fridge space, the things that you're going to be asked about, have those measurements scribbled down, because you're going to be asked if they can't come and view it themselves.
Yes, absolutely. And look, I'm still very much of the opinion, as I said earlier, and it's still sensible to arrange private one-on-one. Yeah. And I know that then that's going to put additional pressure on, well, how long do we leave a leasing consultant or a property manager there? What's the time differences? So again, guys, it's about sitting as a team and working through those strategies. How long do we need with an individual person? Then remember, wipe down any surfaces in case anything has been touched. Make sure you've got gloves on, have hand sanitizer in and out, all of those different measures, especially if you're doing those private viewings, because at the end of the day, your safety and well-being is really important in this strategy.
It's just as important. And I know that as property managers, we tend to be quite selfless and we prioritize other people. There needs to be some balance here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking after yourself as well, your physical hygiene and your mental hygiene.
Yeah. So I suppose to digress and just quickly again answer your question, look at your suppliers, look at the tech you're using, connect with them. You don't need specifically right now a 360 camera. If you've got the opportunity to be able to do that, please go for it. But utilize your phone. You don't need a tripod. Just grab your phone, record those videos and start something and get it up online. And, you'll start to see that tenants will still continue to inquire and you'll still be able to produce results.
That's right. So this probably segues well into routine inspections. Mm-hmm. And, if we're looking at, well, we're probably not required at this stage to only do video routine inspections. There are probably going to be a lot of us choosing to do routine inspections, and sort of talking about doing them by video instead. In my opinion, there's a couple of ways to do it. One is like this, with a Zoom call or a FaceTime call, where you are there with the tenant, guiding them through the inspection. But for those of you who are familiar with Property Realm, the AI tech company, they've just released a do-it-yourself tenant does the routine inspection app or function. So that's an option as well, and it steps the tenant through what photos they need to take, what notes they need to take, And from what I gather, you don't actually have to be present for it. So there might be some that you do that with, and there might be others you don't do that with. And I gather that it's the charge is per inspection. There's no subscription, but it's per inspection. Are you familiar with that, Kasey?
No, I haven't seen that come out yet, but thank you. I will certainly investigate that.
And I've got a link for that.
Yeah, it's going to continue to be certainly a hot topic of conversation. I do know that probably the last couple of weeks has already seen a change in our behaviour around routine inspections. And of course, that was one of the first things that we all went, we're going to postpone. So I think as a part of that process, what I already saw 2 weeks ago was the communication of we're postponing obviously a routine inspection, but for the peace of mind for the landlord as a tenant, would you mind doing a video, or would it be okay if we did a FaceTime together so that we could actually just have a quick look around the property, just to ensure the owner that right now everything's okay. So I think it's, again, everything we're going to talk about today is going to relay back to communication, guys.
Absolutely.
So we need to make sure that in every way we're not just communicating with our landlords, but our tenants just as importantly, and just sharing with them all of these different tools and things that you can be doing as well to ensure that they are satisfied, obviously, with the services you're providing too.
Yeah. So can I pull up one of the questions that I think you've probably been getting even more than me, Kasey, is should we close our office and have staff work from home?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't.
Yeah, well, look, Ellen, I think a lot of businesses already probably brought this practice into play, and it may have only been this week that they've done it. Some certainly did do it last week. The challenge, obviously, for some businesses is the fact that they weren't even prepared to be able to even work remotely. Now, that challenge just doesn't relate to the fact that you're not using a cloud trust platform. That's one section of it. The key component here is that if you are fully server-based and you're running off of PCs, you can't you can probably pull the PC and take it home, but they don't have a network to connect to. So a lot of business owners were racing out buying laptops. Okay. So, and some of you here today may have experienced that. Some may be in smaller teams, so maybe your environment at work may still be okay. Obviously, if you're practicing social distancing, which of course is important, but that was the first challenge I think a lot of businesses, particularly the business owners, faced, was that they didn't have the particular technology inside of the business walls. So it was like, well, how do we do this? We're on a server. Yeah. We've got PCs. We don't run off laptops. Yeah. All of these different things. And then the other challenges of we're not on a cloud program. We're still running on a desktop program. We don't have IRE to support this. We haven't got online application options. We're still taking paper applications. So, it's really has forced our hand to consider how are our businesses operating, and really how should they be operating. So the challenge is going to be, can you work from home? Not should you. Yeah. And what is it that your business needs to do to make sure that you can effectively, because look, it's changing every day. We've gone from stage 1 to stage 2 very, very quickly. And I anticipate that we're going to be at stage 3 even faster. So what is it you need to do to change right now so your team can effectively still provide a service from home?
That's right.
And now, you need to put that list down.
If we have people who are server-based, something that you might consider is using a piece of software like TeamViewer, or there's a Chrome extension as well. I will find it, and when we share this again on our pages, we'll put a list of resources below it. But there is a Chrome extension that allows you to remote desktop. Mm-hmm. So it means that if your staff have their own computer at home, and if the laptop connected to a server can stay connected and on, they can remote into their physical computer. It's not the perfect solution, but it's a solution.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, because we do have people who are server-based and there's not enough time to switch to not be server based.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got staff who have computers at home, that might be the way around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, a part of that working from home question is obviously the welfare, the mind, all of those different things, right? Because we've been so used to coming to work, potentially in an office environment, and you're with your colleagues, and there's banter and there's laughter and all of those different things, right? Now, all of a sudden, you're at home by yourself,
Go silent.
lonely. Now, you and I are very used to certainly doing that. And don't get me wrong, there's days where you are lonely, right? And sometimes I go and sit at a cafe just so I can hear noise from other people, okay? So we've just got to remember that we should just be checking in with everyone, especially if you've chosen to send your staff home, work from home. I know some may not have the capabilities of doing so, so you are still going to the office. But whether or not you're there with only one or two of you, have your meetings like this online, connect, be chatting all of the time and just checking in. And it's really important we keep everyone as positive as we can be as well.
That's right. And I'm going to suggest that if you haven't started using a tool like Slack, now's probably a great time to integrate that into your business. You can start with a free account, and Slack is it's an internal communications tool. So it pulls you away from email so that when you're communicating with your team, you're not communicating via email, you're only communicating within Slack. And you can set up different channels for different topics. So if there are certain, routine inspections, open homes, and you can have all your conversations related to those things. And you can also set up a just for fun channel, and that's where you share silly gifs. That's where you share funny jokes. That's where you show that you're sitting at home in your work clothes but wearing your slippers. So those sorts of things can help boost morale a little bit. So if you're not using Slack yet, now might be a good time to bring it in, even if you only bring it in just for the fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as a part of this, it's not obviously about going to the extreme of, wow, now there's all these things that we haven't done and we've got to make all of these drastic changes. I think each business, again, it's a case-by-case individual decision, as well as obviously with the staff that you've got on board, to sit down and look at those things and say, would this help us right now? Yes, we believe it would. Okay, as a consensus, we're going to do this. Do we believe this is going to be of benefit? Maybe not. We don't really use that resource or tool. Okay, let's push that to the side. Do we feel this is going to help? And I think, again, it's just communicating even amongst the team to see what's going to be working well in this scenario.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Can we talk a little bit about how often we should be communicating with our clients?
Absolutely. Well, I think that's like the big one, right? Curtis and I just did a little bit of a training session, and we really dived into this topic, and we were talking about, is over communicating too much in this scenario? We're both definitely of the opinion that it's not, but it's what obviously information we are communicating. Just as also remembering that there's so many different ways that we can communicate. So I think it's important that you are daily sharing information on your social platforms. You are emailing your clients. If you have the opportunity to pick the telephone up and just check in with your landlords and tenants, hi, are you okay? I want to give you some information that's just been brought to hand to us, blah, blah, blah. Express that to them, get off the phone, make your next telephone call, right? The more proactive you are in giving this education, the less your phone is going to ring and the less emails you're going to get, and there will be less noise in your business right now. So be on the front foot about what you're communicating. Go to them and say, we've had a meeting this morning in regards to what's just happened overnight with open home inspections. Rest assured, we've already got all of these things in play so we can keep leasing your properties. Tell them this information, guys. It doesn't matter if you need to tell them 3 times. Share it and overshare, but make sure it's the right information. Lots of information is going out. So if you're going to share something, do it from the correct government sites. Share something from your landlord insurance providers, if they put something out, you know, share something from the REA group about how the market is still quite positive. There's still new listings going online. So, you know, we're definitely open for business. Share those types of things with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that's important is being quite transparent about the fact that this is our update to this moment. So if you're watching, you know, if you're on social media and you're sharing something, it's like, okay, so this is the update as at, you know, 25th of March.
Right.
We will continue to update you. I also think that, especially when it comes to what we're sharing on social, I think it's okay to share a balance of, you know, coronavirus updates and things to lighten the mood, because I tell you, I am personally desperately seeking out relief from the noise. So when I see that someone shares a picture of a cute dog at a private inspection, or you know, one of those sorts of things, or even a blooper from a series of videos they did 6 months ago, I am so grateful for that. And I can only assume that your followers also will be so grateful for that. They want to see that you're showing leadership and direction and professionalism. What a word to stumble on.
Yeah, totally.
They want to see that, but they want to see something to help the pain a little bit and settle the fear a little bit as well. So if you have appropriate pictures and videos that you can scatter in as well, even if the caption is, here's a little something to brighten your feed. People are really looking for that.
Yes.
Right now. Really desperately looking for that.
Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be that balance, and that's as well. The balance also is of that information that you need to be giving. We don't want to keep sharing the same thing, but we want to share great positive news from the REA group that this is what's happening in the market and things are still really great, so that the owners aren't fearful of maybe there aren't tenants looking, but you know what, guys, there actually still is, right? It's still happening. So share that as something positive in this, you know, situation. You know, share that what's going on, you know, you're at home and you're working from home and how cool, and do that. I think that's great. You know, everyone's kind of dressing nice here and then they do have their slippers on underneath, right? So share that and say, how good is it that we can still give you service as your property manager with the slippers on? And there's things like that they will then go, wow, you know, these people are human. Everyone's going through this together.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Can we talk about managing the extra stress and pressure right now for us, for those in the front line, those property managers in the front line right now, and staying on top of that, because I think that you're so needed at the moment that we need your mental health to be good at the moment. And if I can share a couple of things that I'm doing right now, Kasey, I'd love for you to share after some tips you've got as well. For me, I know this sounds crazy, I am off Facebook, meaning I have deleted Facebook from my phone and I use a newsfeed eradicator on my desktop, so I cannot see the newsfeed. This is not so that I'm ignorant, it's so that I get to choose where I get my information from. For me, I check government websites. That is where I'm getting my information. I am not interested in being told how to feel by the media. So for right now, off. I'm still on Instagram. I find Instagram a relatively positive place. So I'm still there, but I am on Facebook, but I don't see Facebook. So I'm being very deliberate about my mental health hygiene. And to be honest, at times like this, all you want to do is probably, you know, if you're an introvert like me, just want to curl up in a corner in the ball at home and not talk to anyone. I am being very proactive with, tonight I'm having a virtual dinner with one of my girlfriends, I'm really stepping up my social life without having to come into contact with people.
Yeah.
So I'm being very diligent about that and keeping those relationships as normal as possible amidst the crazy. What about you, Kasey?
Yeah, look, I only arrived actually back home on Saturday, so I've certainly still been travelling through a little bit of this. So I sort of come home, and this week have locked myself away. I don't have to do self-isolation, but it's now working like this, so there's no real, I don't need to go to the supermarket every single day, so I might as well stay inside and certainly protect myself as much as I can. But what I certainly find, and it's just totally my personality, is I get easily distracted. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, I wonder what's on TV. Should I turn Netflix on? Oh, yeah, I'm hungry again. I'm not even hungry. But I just go and open the fridge for the sake of opening the fridge, right?
Yeah.
And some of you are probably going, yeah, that's me too. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, is it too early for a wine yet? Right? So it's all of these things that are seriously going on in my mind as a part of this. But, I've just had to, think to myself that to keep a clear and positive mindset as much as you can is to keep eating right. Keep your diet the way that it was, as hard as it is, just still keep eating that, fruit and veg and doing those right things. And look, ScoMo said last night, we can go for a walk, we can go for a jog, and it's okay. So do that for 30 minutes every day. Get out, get that fresh air, and you'll still feel alive and comfortable. I'm in a position personally where my partner is still away at IFO. I'm here literally by myself. So there's challenges of that, but we're just having to talk online like this and try to keep ourselves positive because we just can't be together right now. And I'm sure there are other people who are facing similar things. So I think it's keep the positive talk coming, check in with your friends. I've rung all of my closest girlfriends to say, are you okay? Can I help with anything? I don't really have much toilet paper, but hey, if you do, make sure you send some to me. And we have little jokes like that, right? And I think it's about just keeping as normal as you possibly can, really staying positive as a part of it. And that 30-minute walk in the morning is certainly just helping me. I'm not like hardcore exercising. I'm just going for a bit of walk to clear the head, not be in front of the computer, not be near a telephone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think probably the last question I've got here on the list is where do we find information on assistance for our businesses, those of us who are business owners, for those of us who are being affected financially? Like, what's the best resource for that?
Yeah, I think there are definitely multiple, and their sites are just getting updated all of the time. But I think it's important that you certainly go straight to the government sites, making sure that you're giving your clientele the correct information about where they need to go to. And it's not about you saying this is what you should do. It's a recommendation for you to find out the best information. Contact your home loan lender, contact your financial planner, talk to them about what your individual options are. And for tenants, it's talking them through how you're going to be using technology now to support them as well as tenants through this tough time. I think it's, having a look at Centrelink and just understanding, it doesn't mean you need to know all of the answers, right? And I think it's most important to say, right now, we actually don't have the answer to that. So we're all working through it to come up with the best solution. Leave it with me. I'm going to come back to you. But right now, at this minute, I don't have the direct response for you. So I think it's just making sure that you're well equipped. If you've got a client that says, can I make a claim on my landlord insurance? Don't just immediately say, yes, you can. Because every policy may be different. And remember, we're not qualified to give certain advice. So it's call the REIQ, call the REIV, REI New South Wales, talk to them about the potential strategies, get those different layers of advice. And look, if it's from an operational point of view, if you need help with your communication suites, your emails, SMS templating, if you need help in what does our workflow look like now, call me, I can help you.
Yeah.
If you're looking to transition from server to cloud, how do we do that? What's the best plan? connect with me. I can help you through all of that stuff to come up with a strategy that's personalized for your business right now.
That's right. And like for me, the one website I am going to is australia.gov.au.
Yeah.
There's a great big yellow banner at the top of the page, and that directs you to all the different pieces of information that you need. So for me, that's where I'm going, and that's where I'm sending people, because it directs you to, you know, help for small business, help for individuals. It's all of those things. So for me, that's a great resource, and it's very fact-based without the hype.
Yes.
It just tells you how you can get help, and it's a great resource for your tenants and landlords.
Yeah, I think one thing out of this is what we need to remember is that, yes, we've probably been pushed to make some decisions in our business that we all knew. And let's be really honest, Ellen, there's a lot of us out there that knew that we should have been in the cloud and be doing some of these things well before now. This is just forcing our hand to make these changes immediately in our business, right? So we've got to adapt very, very quickly. And I think as humans, we can, right? We've all got to come together now and go, it does not matter how we did it yesterday, how we did it last week, how we did it 10 years ago. It's about how do we do it right now today. Let's just focus on that. And then we reassess it tomorrow and determine whether or not we need to make another change. And it's okay, guys, if we do, right? This is going to keep evolving and keep changing. Just be really open-minded and take it in and keep talking to your leaders in the business. Keep talking to your colleagues. If you've got some roadblocks in your own ability to embrace some of these changes, be open about that. Don't just sit back on your hands and be like, well, no, I'm not doing it. Because, you know, we've got to really move forward now. And this is the only way collectively as an industry that we will move forward. You know, I believe that we will remain open for business. We are an essential service to provide housing for our people. Okay. It's just maybe elements like these inspections that they're going to claw back on, which you know makes sense to do. But we can still do so many other things. We can do virtual tenancy sign-ups like this. We can use DocuSign to sign documents, and businesses have been doing this for years already, right? So it's now time for everyone to go, let's all come together and let's be consistent in the way property management in Australia operates.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting really close to the end of the hour, even though we started a little late. If we have questions live, you're welcome to jump into the Q&A right now and ask your questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have questions after, or if you're watching the replay of this, wherever you're watching the replay, whether it's on Kasey's page or my page, or you've seen it somewhere else, feel free to comment your question below. As we've said, we don't have all the answers, but I know that when we come together, we're smarter. So I know that we can figure things out and be really solutions focused, fact-based and solutions focused. That has become my motto this week. I know we can figure it out.
Yeah.
So we might not know, but collectively we'll figure it out.
Yeah. And guys, just keep communicating, keep educating your landlords and your tenants and those out there. You know, and I've been asked as well, Ellen, about growth strategies. You know, what should we do, Kasey? Should we kind of keep growing, or how does that even look now for us? Guys, I think just keep doing your jobs as normal, right? What will be increased is, of course, your communication. But BDMs out there, or business owners, there's a potential lot of opportunities that they weren't always hidden, but they probably just weren't always at the forefront of our minds, like Airbnb. You know, I was talking with Tara, and I know she won't mind me sharing this.
Yeah.
She has been signing up Airbnb properties because, you know, where she is in Hervey Bay, there's obviously a lot of those from a holiday perspective. Bookings are cancelled. People don't want to then have these vacant properties that are potentially understanding for the next 6 months they might. So the strategy for them is to try to find a permanent tenant. And if we can put more people into housing in that front, then obviously the country will also be better from the homeless point of view as well. So think about those different types of strategies. That's just one in particular.
Mm.
And I'm sure that, go on actually for anyone and have a look at Tara's page of active agents and just have a look at some of the things that she's doing, and she's, writing those tips in there about how she's attracting that Airbnb market, all of that. What are we talking about in fees? People are going to be, what's your fee? And yeah, they're probably going to want to negotiate now, maybe more than ever. But, showcase your value now, because we can do all of these additional things, right? And that's what's most important.
Yeah. And I was speaking with a client yesterday who is in a marketplace where he's aware that there's going to be a lot of short-term rentals become long-term rentals, and not necessarily like really short-term rentals, but corporate style accommodation that people would rent for 3 months for a contract. And he said a lot of those are going to become available for rent. And so he said, we're actually going to potentially experience increased vacancy in his place. And one of the things I've noticed is that it's actually easier to grow your rent roll when your area experiences higher vacancy, because people are more willing to consider working with another agent if they've not been happy with their current agent. So if your area is going to experience a little bit more vacancy, you still need to be out there willing to sign people up. Like, I have clients who are still doing appraisals and still signing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so do I. I have spoken to a lot of BDMs in the industry over the last few days, and they are certainly still appraising homes. And obviously, we're doing it in a different way now. They are, and that's a part of the strategies they're talking to me about, is how can I do this effectively? Have Zoom as an app on your phone or FaceTime, talk with that client, walk through the home with them, and then go back and do your research, etc. Still so many ways, guys, we can still be delivering this. But you're absolutely right. The businesses that haven't unfortunately been providing the right type of service or the level of service, those particular clients are going to go straight to the other agency that has now just put up floor plans, video walkthroughs, 360 videos, sharing information, education. They're going to go, wow, how come my property management team are not doing that, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. All right. It looks like they are the collection of questions for today. There will be more, no doubt. So we might end this session now, if that works for you, Kasey.
Yeah, absolutely. I did just see a quick question come through. It's from Tammy. Hi, Tammy. How would we legally write up a rent reduction for a fixed term tenancy which is in place? Look, that's an absolutely really good question.
Yeah.
My forte certainly isn't specifics of legislation, so I would definitely direct that question to either, I know you're in Queensland, Tammy, so RTA or the REIQ, but I am of the opinion that if we've got it as a mutually agreed in writing, so that means writing from the owner that they are agreeing to this reduction for this period of time, very, very similar to if you had maintenance on a property and burst water pipe, something had happened and the tenant said, can I have a rent reduction while this maintenance is getting fixed? Tenant in writing, both parties sign that we're all in agreement for this period. I believe that will satisfy. However, please do just all check in your respective states as to where that falls in legislation.
Yeah, and my expectation is that because we know what tribunals are like in all states.
They're closed, by the way.
Oh, right. So, but because we know what they're like historically, they are more likely to support a rent reduction agreement, even if it's not quite written perfectly. That's my guess.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
The intent was there.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be these sort of tricky things where there may be then these slightly different grey areas, and we're all waiting, obviously, for ScoMo to announce potential changes to our tenancy law and how that's going to certainly affect all of us as a whole as an industry, regardless of what state we're in, I believe. I think they're going to try to really bring some of that legislation together That's just my interpretation of him relaying that messages from last night. So, but I think as long as it's mutually agreed in writing by both parties and what the period is, to be really specific.
Yeah.
This is the amount, start and finish times. If there's going to be a review date of it, all of those things. And I think that you will, both parties, and certainly you as a business, will be protected.
I'd expect so as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all so very much for joining us here. I'm wondering if I can close today by reading a little quote by Brené Brown that really hit me. And I just thought, let me read it to you today, because it might be just the thing you needed to hear as well. So this is Brené Brown. This pandemic experience is a massive experiment in collective vulnerability. We can be our worst selves when we're afraid, or our very best, bravest selves. In the context of fear and vulnerability, there is often very little in between, because when we are uncertain and afraid, our default is self-protection. We don't have to be scary when we're scared. Let's choose awkward, brave, and kind. Let's choose each other. So thank you so much for being here. We will put the recording of this everywhere you can find it.
Yes.
And we're here for you if you need more help.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ellen.